What do you do with unproven family stories or stories about an individual, particularly ones that might be sensitive? Welcome to the Write Your Family Histories channel's Writer's Corners, where you ask questions that don't quite fit various topics and I answer them. But who am I? I'm Devin Noel Lee, the author of A Recipe for Writing Family History, a quick guide to help you rapidly write your family stories and turn them into books for your shelves. Prior to discussing this topic and recording this video, it's important to acknowledge the difficulty I have to determine whether I can use certain words here on YouTube that would show up in your family history. So, to address this, I'm forewarning you that I edited words that I think might be problematic while still trying to give you a sense of the topic I'm trying to discuss. I know it might be a little bit annoying to have the words edited out, but it was my best attempt to talk about something that is going to come up in your family history writing. But the current culture makes it difficult to have an educational, informative discussion about it. So don't shoot the messenger, but let's get into the topic. What if you want to write about an ancestor who died according to family stories, but that there are no facts about how, when, where, why, so forth? This ancestor lived an incredibly adventurous life, and it was also interesting. There are hundreds of newspapers about her life. So, are you left with writing hypothetical possibilities of what happened to her, or what do you do? Great question, Gary. When it comes to sensitive topics, especially speculation, you need to use judgment. Previously on this channel, I interviewed Carol Baxter, and she had said, "You're the writer. You need to use your judgment on what you're going to do." I also have a webinar about sensitive stories, and I'm going to highly recommend that you watch that video. It's going to cover a couple of things. Be sure to share me your thoughts in the audience. I love people contributing to this conversation. What would you do? I also think when we come to sensitive topics, we need to not pass judgment on our ancestors. And so I have that video also linked in the chat and will be in the description box later. When you have suspicions with no proof, you have a number of options. In the main body of the story, this is chapter 1 to the end of the last chapter before the back material, which includes your bibliography if you're going to use one, includes the appendix and so forth. If it's a rumor and it is one that people would like to hide under the rug, you have no way to prove or disprove, I would highly recommend that you'd not put it in the main body of the story. If that rumor hung over their head and nobody ever proved it or disproved it, but it impacted their life, then I think you need to at least mention it in the main text of the story. And while I like the box text and sidebar technique that Carol taught us about on this channel, this is one of those times that I would put it in the appendix. The appendix I tend to put for future research, stuff I still can't find, questions I still have, but I'm inviting future researchers to address. This is also where I will debunk family legends. For instance, going back to Joseph Geisler, my German immigrant ancestor, there was a story that he was shot outside of the Columbus barracks when the sentry yelled halt at him and told him to halt, and he didn't understand what that word meant. As I've discovered since that first story was told to me, halt is a word that Germans knew. And so this story, that was just the first of many problems in this story. So I debunked that story so that people, I think he died. I think there were interesting circumstances. But even though it's written down by his great-granddaughter, I just don't believe it's true. And so that's what I handled. So when it comes to this suspicion, if all you have is people suspect she died of suicide, well, let it go. But if you have reasons to believe that she died of suicide, or there were some other things that were alleged, but you don't have any proof, but it impacted the family thereafter, take time to mention it, be gentle about it, follow the steps in the ethically writing story, but I would put it over there because if that family rumor has been around for a while, I think it's important to address it. We don't have any proof. This is my suspicion. Yet I don't want you to think it actually happened, which is why it's over here, because we need to talk about it. Maybe someday in the future, this can be addressed and resolved. If not, let us be careful about the rumors we spread about our loved ones. And let's also be striving to give people the care they need so that if this was true, it doesn't happen for another loved one. So there's a lot of good that you can do with a sensitive topic that doesn't have proof. But again, put it in the appendix, treat it with compassion, and I think you will be able to be more successful that way. Now the floor is open for you to discuss what do you do with the unproven stories that are floating around in your family tree, theories you might have, family legends, rumors, and so forth. What do you do with them to balance the need to either debunk them or address them or ignore them entirely? I really hope that we can have a positive discussion and that we can all walk away with some strategies to deal with the less happy, joy side of family history.